So I just want to point out that we are live now, but I can hear Big Hero 6 playing in the living room above me.
What?
So if I really love that movie. So if anybody hears Baymax or Hero yelling over my microphone, it's really fucking loud. That's what's going on upstairs right now.
Okay,
John,
well,
it's
I
a bit of
can't
a
hear
sin
it.
that it's not AGDQ in the background, man. What are you doing?
You know what? I was listening. I was watching Big Hero 6 in the living room before the podcast started, and then I realized, oh shit, I've got a podcast to help run tonight. So I ran down here and left the movie on for my dogs who are upstairs, lonely.
The movie on for your dogs.
Everybody, welcome to episode 133 of SDGC for Thursday, January. What is this? The 11th? 10th? It's the 10th.
It's the 10th.
10th.
Okay, sorry. I knew I was going to fuck that one up. If you're not aware, Super Deformed Gamescast meets every Thursday night right here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines with a wide variety of panel members and guests. We also do all kinds of other stuff as time allows, like a separate show about movies and TV, community game streaming, and a mental health support show. If you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, feel free to stick around and maybe throw us a follow. Every single podcast is archived the next day on our YouTube channel for those who like to watch, and you can find us on SoundCloud and Google Podcasts for those who like to listen, and Spotify as well. I should mention that. My name is John, and tonight I'm joined by Derek.
What's going on, guys?
Maddie.
Hi.
Snorlax. Rebecca.
Hey!
And we are SDGC, and with that being said, time to press start. And we have a guest tonight. Very, very happy.
Did we skip Maddie?
No, I said Maddie.
Okay.
We have a
Snorlax distracted me that hard.
We have a guest that isn't a Snorlax.
He's not a Snorlax. He's not a Snorlax, although he's like me and Derek. He's a big Nintendo fan. Steve Bowling from Nintendo Life and also now from Game Explain. Welcome to SDGC, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We will see how you feel about that.
Okay. I am drinking. That'll help.
I
always does.
Fits right in.
I told Steve to bring alcohol. I was adamant on this point. I told him you're gonna fucking need it when you're dealing with us.
I take orders.
You do a really good job, John. You always lower everyone's expectations, and then they show up, and we have this amazing podcast, and they're just blown away.
Why do you think I lower those expectations? Because if I tell everybody this is a badass podcast and they're gonna have a great time, everybody is going to end up disappointed as fuck. So if I tell them that this is a shit show trash fire, then they're gonna come out of this feeling really good about themselves.
Never.
That is my philosophy. But Steve, anyway, so you're with Nintendo Life and now you're with Game Explain. Tell us real quick about how you got to where you were, if you don't mind, man, because I'm super curious to hear about the path that led you to Game Explain.
Oh yeah. It's actually an interesting story. So I've been working at Nintendo Life for years now, and I'm still there as their US editor. I help them put together events like E3 and manage the US side of things. Because if you're not aware, Nintendo Life is mostly headquartered in the UK. So basically, I'm the liaison for Western developers, publishers, that kind of stuff. The Game Explain thing happened really organically, actually. Andre and I first met at an event I snuck my way into like 5 years ago.
That's always where it starts.
I was just starting out in the industry, and I had found Kit Ellis from Nintendo on the PAX. Back then it was called PAX West. Now it's PAX Prime. Other way around, PAX Prime show floor, and just kind of acted like he should know me and said, "Hey, where's the media event today?" And he gave me all the details. So I kind of showed up there, and Andre and I ended up playing Smash 3DS together. Since then, we've kind of met at various events that we've been part of throughout the
Jeff?
years. And hello,
Jeff's here.
Why is Jeff here?
Just because he has to come in. So
okay.
Please, Steve, continue. I know we were going to notify, but Jeff really wanted to come in. So
okay.
No problem.
Please continue, Steve. I'm sorry that these barbarians interrupted you so incredibly rudely. Please continue.
No, it's fine. So I ended up covering events with Andre. We would just hang out and talk after the events, go have a couple beers. We became friends after that, and it kind of culminated with the idea that I should join the team when we were at the most recent PAX West. And I ended up not having a room, so I couch surfed with them. And I ended up being in their videos as they reached 1 million subscribers. And we kind of got to talking about maybe I should be in more videos. And so taught myself how to do some video editing with IGN and other stuff like that until I was confident using Premiere. And joined the team towards the end of this year and have just been doing little bits and pieces here and there. But it's been a fun ride, and they're a great group of guys. Like, all of them are really fun to hang out with.
They really are. And
Steve. I just had this stupid epiphany, and I can't believe it took me this long. You and I are coworkers. I don't know why it took me this long to figure that out.
Are we?
Yeah, I'm with GamesIndustry.biz, aren't we?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, we're both Gamer Network.
Why did I not make that connection?
I don't know why I didn't either. I know Nintendo Life is with us.
Does this count as like a weird conflict of interest right here?
No!
Is that what's
No,
Great.
but it does mean we should have beers at E3 this year, though.
Fuck yeah, sir.
Steve, that's fucking awesome, dude. Like working for Game Explain, like what a just like what an amazing stepping stone for you, man.
Bullshitting your way into the media event is the best part of the whole thing.
90% of what we do in this industry is bullshitting.
I'm gonna remember that.
The other 10%.
Don't
is
tell
actually-
people that.
Shh. I can guarantee you, I have never bullshitted my way into an industry event ever. I just
Yeah, I've done
bullshitted
it.
my way into the industry. Period.
What-
Steve, we are extremely happy you're with us tonight, man. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Everybody knows that there was a huge industry shakeup today with Bungie and Activision going their separate ways. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into all the weird Nintendo game announcements on Twitter this week, the Twitter Direct, as people are calling it. I've got my own theories on why that happened, but we'll get into that later. But first, I know that Rebecca wanted to talk a little bit about Unity. And I'm not talking podcast Unity. Like we're already a unit. Rebecca, what is the Unity that you would like to talk about?
So there was, like you said, there was just a lot of news going on this week, and especially today with Activision and Bungie. But there was a huge piece of business news that happened today that, like, was kind of interesting just in general, but by the end of the day had turned into just this weird ass thing that I think is really worth talking about. It involves two players. One is Unity, which is, Unity Technologies. They make the game engine Unity. People develop games in Unity. That's them. And then the other one is this group called Improbable. And Improbable is a company that created this thing called Spatial OS. It's made in Unity. I'm not a developer, so I don't quite have my head wrapped around it. But basically, it's this super fancy platform that allows people to develop within it with these like massive like simulated worlds. And there's like several games that have been developed in Spatial OS in Unity. So like Spatial OS is part of Unity, and then you can also use Spatial OS to create like just these huge, ridiculous games. So at the beginning of today, there was a blog post from Improbable that said Unity had changed its terms of service in December and had, because of how all this had shaken out, games that had been made in Spatial OS were now in violation of Unity's terms of service and could no longer be run. And that included multiple games. Hold on, I'm going to find these really quick. That included multiple titles that were currently in development. And then also some titles that were out currently. So like Worlds Adrift was one of them. Claim Games is coming out with this MMO called Seed that's in development, and that, fell under that umbrella. So there were just like several games, and all of a sudden these developers were like, holy shit, so we can't, like, we've put years and years of work into these games and they're in Unity, so now we just can't use Unity anymore? Like, what the fuck does that mean? So all these developers were panicking. I could go into the details. I'm not going to take up too much time, but like a couple of them took their games offline very briefly because they weren't sure like if they were violating some terms of service or violating some legal thing. And Unity was silent all day. Like Improbable CEO came out. They called what did they call it? I don't know. They called it. They like said some. They were really upset about it. They called Unity's thing, like they were just really upset about everything that Unity had done, saying they had changed their terms of service. It was something to do with cloud and streaming and stuff, where they were now violating the terms of service. And then Unity came out at the end of the day with this big statement, and they basically said that Improbable was full of shit, and that Improbable had violated Unity's terms of service a year ago, and they had told them that they were violating the terms of service a year ago, and Improbable had completely ignored them. And that Unity and the Improbable had lied in its post, and all the games that were made in Spatial OS were safe, and Unity was going to keep supporting them, but Improbable itself and Spatial OS were in trouble, and nobody else was. And they basically looked at Improbable and said, you guys just lied to everybody and made us look like the bad guys when really you guys have been violating our terms of service for a year, and we've warned you about it, and you just decided not to listen? So it was very weird, like Unity calling them out on that, and then I thought that was the end of it. I thought that was it. Okay, so like, okay, Improbable, really fucked up. Unity is, going to keep supporting these games like they should. It's going to be fine. But then Improbable, at the very end of the day, came out with this long blog post that I highly recommend reading it. Like, go to improbable.io and just like look at their like latest news or whatever, and just read the whole thing, because it is an absolute delight to read. They do not at any point acknowledge the fact that Unity is accusing them of lying. They say, we apologize that this event we instigated has created so much uncertainty, confusion, and pain for so many developers. They, at one point, say that ultimately a commercial dispute between two companies in which both sides have certainly made errors.
That's the kind of language I'm already in love with.
And then there's a part in the middle where they decide to turn it into a call to action, and they're like...
This
in bold text, that perhaps it's time to create a code of conduct or basic set of principles that the enablers in bold text within the ecosystem need to operate by, as against bold text developers and clearly also players. Like, it's amazing. And then at the very, very end, they have a PS that says, ironically, on closer examination, our own terms of service have just as many weaknesses and potential future problems as those of other parties that have received criticism today. Something we have decided to rectify. They don't mention, like, Unity in here anywhere, basically. They just say, oh, both sides have messed up here, and we think it's time that platforms do a better job, I guess, of letting people know when they're going to change their terms of service. I don't know. The whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. There's something happened here. Nobody knows what Improbable did to violate Unity's terms of service and start this whole thing. There is a story here. I really want to know what it is.
That sidestepping is so impressive that everyone that works in that building must be crabs, because I don't, they manage to just be like, hey, let's not talk about what just happened. Let's move to, what, ethics in terms of service, I guess? Like, yeah. what the fuck is happening here?
I read the Improbable statement, like, before we came on, because I wanted to try to catch up on what was going on with this whole thing.
That was not the place to start, man. That statement makes no sense.
It
wasn't the place to end either, apparently.
Like, it basically reads like somebody's just blog post musing about something. Like, it doesn't seem like a professional thing from a company. It's the weirdest, like, release they could have put out.
So
I glossed over that, like, really, like, I just, like, really skimmed the surface on that. I highly recommend, like, going back and just reading exactly what happened in a little more detail, because it is real wild, folks. I don't understand it all, and it's great.
I just want to highlight something that was said in chat about this. Actually, this is from Imran from Game Informer.
Hi, Imran.
Imran, what's up? He says, Improbable basically ended the day saying, what if we held hands, though?
Yep, yeah, they did, yeah.
How the fuck did I miss this? This is really the first I've heard about this.
It got real. I mean, it was weird this morning. Like, I mean, we broke the news this morning, and then there was, like, the blog post and everything, and that was kind of big, but we all just kind of were sitting on it and waiting for Unity to say something. And then Unity finally said something, and I don't know what I was expecting Unity to say, but it wasn't, yeah, Improbable's lying.
And
that wasn't where I expected that to
be. Like, is the situation resolved now? Like, is it?
It is, I think, for the developers involved, because the answer that
over?
Unity had... The answer Unity had for the developers is, yeah, we're still going to support your shit, don't worry. Please email us if you're concerned. So, unless developers come forward later and say, no, they're not actually supporting our shit, then it sounds like for them it's probably over. Improbable no longer has a Unity license, so Spatial OS, like, previous developers in Spatial OS, it sounds like are grandfathered in, so they're all okay, but it doesn't sound like we'll see anything else developed in Spatial OS on Unity. In the future anymore.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's real weird.
It's super weird, because I remember, like, I first started seeing, like, a few indie developers this morning being like, this is, like, one of the worst moves an engine maker could have done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and then it got wild as the day went on.
Now I need to go back and fucking read all of this shit.
You do. It's dense, but
what a weird fucking day for game news. This is the strangest fucking day.
Oh god.
I think this one just didn't get reported much because it was so confusing. and nobody really knew what was going on.
Yeah, like I said, I just skimmed the surface. Like I have all the articles up in front of me, but I don't want to sit here and like attempt to read terms of service on a podcast when we've got other things to talk about. But I really do highly recommend like looking at these because it is just like real weird.
It opens us up
and
to like
funny.
service jokes and just no, I
The
can't.
payoff is good. The payoff is good. If you read everything else and then get to Improbable's blog post, oh my god. I was just like dying laughing here while I was trying to write this stupid story.
I want to real quick, while it's fresh in my head, I want to give a quick shout out to somebody in chat and offer some congratulations. Midi, who has been listening to SDGC almost from Jump Street for years now. One of our chat mods. I just want to congratulate her on her GPA in law school. She got a 3.3 to get to the dean's list, and she's in the top 25% of her class. So Midi, congratulations. We always knew you could do it. We are all super proud of you. And I see nothing but great things in the future for you.
We love you, Midi.
Congratulations, Midi. That's fucking fantastic.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
That is
Thank
amazing.
you so much for sticking with us for so long, Midi. I know it's probably been a trial because we're just a bunch of yokels, but we appreciate you sticking around.
Snorlax woke up to wave congratulations. That's how excited he is.
And now he goes back to sleep. To sleep. So, guys, and by the way, Rebecca, thank you for that. That was a great breakdown of that. And now I'm gonna have to go back and read all of that shit tomorrow after I'm teaching in class.
It's worth it to make it to the end.
Yes, it is. But there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot more to cover, and the biggest news story today was something that broke. So the path to this was really interesting. So Jason Schreier at Kotaku tweeted out some cryptic stuff about Bungie and Activision, and everybody, including me, was like, "Oh God, what the fuck is going on? Is Destiny dying? What's happening?" Because I think we can all agree the tone of the tweets, or at least the tone of what it sounded like was happening, was super ominous. And so, like,
also, let's be real. Anytime there's news about Activision or EA and one of their studios they're partnered with, I just assume it's bad news. Especially
with the weird, like, kind of couple months or month Activision has had. I mean, I know that's not necessarily Bungie specific, but Activision just seems to have been hit with a lot of weird, not great, concerning news lately, and so it just felt like
they're the kind of company that takes their frustrations out on the companies below them. So,
well, I mean, they're a company that has once bragged about not spending money on carpets, like to save money. Like,
tell me that story later. I didn't know that.
And didn't they just introduce a new CFO too?
Yeah, they just introduced a new CFO. It's clear that there's been some major shakeups at Blizzard.
Mike Morhaim's leaving. That was news that dropped today.
And then there's been, especially for the past few years, a lot of rumblings about tensions between Activision and Bungie, and including recently when this is just a couple months ago after Forsaken came out. There, Activision had a statement saying they were disappointed with its performance, and Luke Smith from Bungie straight up is like, "We are not disappointed in Forsaken. We are proud of what we've made. We are so glad that like our community is enjoying it." Like, it was one of the most public splits between a publisher and developer I think I've seen, even if it was, phrased as a positive thing. Like, you could tell there were cracks.
So let's take that and jump from it. I want to kick it over to Steve first, because Steve has been around the industry longer than I have. So today, after all that, it broke that, and I've got the article on Kotaku right here. So credit to Kotaku. I'm going to quote it. It says, developer Bungie and publisher Activision are splitting up, an industry-shaking divorce that will see the shared world shooter series Destiny enter fully into Bungie's control. This development comes after years of tension between the two companies, tension that has existed since before the first Destiny even shipped. Bungie, the studio that created and has led development on the franchise, told employees during a team meeting this afternoon, framing it as fantastic news for a studio that has long grown sick of dealing with its publisher. And this is my favorite part of the whole article. Employees cheered and popped champagne, according to one person who was there. We have enjoyed a successful 8-year run and would like to thank Activision for their partnership on Destiny. I'm sure they did it through gritted teeth. Bungie said in a blog post today. Looking ahead, we're excited to announce plans for Activision to transfer publishing rights for Destiny to Bungie. With our remarkable Destiny community, we are ready to publish on our own, while Activision will increase the focus on owned IP projects. And the last thing I'll quote here The news comes during a rough time for Activision, which recently went through an executive shakeup and has been cutting costs at its biggest subsidiary, Blizzard. Activision's stable of mega franchises has grown significantly smaller, having abandoned Skylanders and now lost Destiny. Two of the publisher's other studios, High Moon and Vicarious Visions, have been working on expansions and content for Destiny 2. It's unclear what they will helm next. So, holy fucking shit, that is some... Wow, I did not wake up this morning expecting to hear that. Steve, I know that I know that you, like, Nintendo Life and Game Explained mostly focuses on Nintendo stuff, but are you following the situation with Activision and Bungie at all?
To a degree, I have kept up on the articles Jason's written for the most part because dude is like the best reporter ever.
He's fucking he's great.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Destiny 2 hasn't been that good, and I say this as somebody who sunk thousands of hours into the original.
Yes,
Destiny 2 did not work for me. And you hear these stories about how development was really tumultuous and how it kind of got a reboot mid-cycle, and how Activision wanted to push for more in-game purchases and that kind of stuff. And the writing for me was pretty much on the wall that Activision and Bungie weren't getting along very well. So hearing that Bungie, basically did the same thing they did with Microsoft and buy their freedom doesn't surprise me. Taking Destiny with them also doesn't surprise me. It's the first thing they created after leaving Microsoft. So they want to hold on to it. And I think that there's a real sense among the development team that they kind of want to redeem themselves, showing what they can do when no one else is telling them what to do.
So
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's my thing, right? Is that I think this is overall a very good thing for the franchise. I do wonder, and I don't even wonder. I want to ask this specifically to you, Steve, and then to everybody here in general. Is there any chance that Activision could have kept that IP? Is there any chance that Bungie could have been cut loose without retaining control of the Destiny IP? Like, was that something that was possible?
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting.
I feel like they probably fought really hard for it, though, because, I mean, after Microsoft and Halo, why would they want to cut themselves loose from a second publisher and lose another major IP?
Yeah.
Like, that would just be awful.
I get the feeling this really could have gone either way.
Yeah, and, like, also, like, the article mentioned, like, Vicarious Visions, I know Beanox and High Moon Studios have all been Activision studios that have been supporting Destiny on a lot of the expansions, including a couple that it sounds like were mostly made by staff at High Moon in conjunction with Bungie. Like, when Activision started having some of these statements recently about being disappointed with Destiny's performance and stuff, I thought, they might expand some of those studios that have been support studios, have them carry on Destiny and cut Bungie loose. I was not expecting it to go with Bungie retaining, full IP rights in the future.
I could have sworn I saw a tweet earlier today. I want to say it was Imran, but I'm not positive. Somebody was talking about
it was
Imran.
Like a month or two ago, they were looking into kind of just completely pushing Bungie away from it and having certain affinity keep supporting it. I'm glad it didn't go that way, but it sounds like as of a month ago, it could have gone either way.
Yep. I don't want to be like a killjoy, but I think it's great news for the game, but I think we should be a little cautious about proclaiming Destiny like fixed and guaranteed success. Like, I mean, we all know that they went through a similar celebration phase when they split from Microsoft. And even though I think it's clear that Activision has had an influence on Destiny, and I think it's clear some of it has not been good, I think it's also clear that a lot of Destiny's problems have been inflicted by Bungie themselves. And just because Activision isn't there doesn't guarantee that Destiny is now going to be a perfect game. There's still a lot of uncertainty and work to do. But I think we can all agree that it's always best when you have a single vision behind a game. And I think that's the problem with Activision or any other company. When you have someone making the game and then someone else influencing decisions behind the scenes, it's just never a good thing. So I think regardless of the outcome, at least having complete control over the vision and the execution of everything in the game has got to be a positive.
So Justin, go ahead.
Sorry. The other side of that is like, Bungie has been, especially since, the launch of Destiny 2, which was met with very negative reactions from the core Destiny fan base.
For like the first week.
Well, for the first like couple weeks,
Yeah,
it was
after
good,
that.
and then once people got into the end game time, but like they've been trying to be, more open with their community and communicating directly with the community, and something that is probably difficult when you have a publisher that has to, vet everything that you say before you release it, or how you talk about, issues with a game in the future. Those things can be very difficult. So at least for just like, I think like relationship between community and the developers, I think that that bodes very well from this change.
I do also think it'll be interesting to see what Bungie does that isn't Destiny. The piece of news that came up when I was researching this is that back in June, Bungie got an investment of more than $100 million from NetEase. And like that's interesting in of itself. But like if you look at the quotes from like NetEase and Bungie talking about it, they talk a little bit about mobile, not specifically, like no specific terms, and they also talk about like what's the phrasing? Let me see really quick. Dang it, I'm not gonna be able to find it really quick. But they will begin the creation of new worlds. That's the phrasing that was used by them. And
Are we
they
sure that's not new worlds in the context of like the Destiny universe?
No. So the phrasing is NetEase noted that Bungie founder and chief creative officer Jason Jones will begin the creation of new worlds. Parson confirmed the tense of that phrase, saying the studio had almost entirely focused on building Destiny. So they're referring to something other than Destiny.
Interesting.
But no specific.
So like with all the with all that focus from Bungie, and I don't know how big the team is, but I'm surprised that they have the size or I guess the capacity to create something else on the side.
NetEase money, man.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to point out something that Steve said and kind of bounce it off something that Jeff said, because I think they're both worth mentioning. Like Jeff is very right to state that this is a great development potentially for Destiny, but nobody should be like that. This doesn't automatically mean the game is fixed. And Steve is also very correct in that like Destiny's cyclical. It seems, right? Like I pumped thousands of hours into the original Destiny. When Destiny Vanilla launched, Destiny 1, it was okay. And then by the time the Taken King hit, like it righted the ship completely and made the game finally what everybody had envisioned it to be from the start. And then things kind of went back downhill with Rise of the Machines. And then when Destiny 2 launched, things were great for a couple of weeks, and then everything sunk down until Forsaken, and now everything's great again. But I think Bungie is going to have to work really, really hard to build back some of that consumer confidence that they've lost because of the, I guess, up and down nature of the quality of the game itself. And there are rough waters ahead for Bungie because there are, you got the Division 2 coming out, you got Anthem coming out. Fortnite has completely taken the entire industry by storm. And it is not the same. The gaming landscape is just simply not the same as it was in September 2014 when Destiny first launched. I almost said Borderlands 3 is coming, but who fucking knows anymore? So, like, who knows what's going on with that? But I don't know, Steve, man. Do you think that, like, I think we can all agree this is a good thing for Destiny, but I don't think this. I agree with Jeff. I don't think this is a guarantee. And like, where do you see them taking the franchise from here? Because this kind of opens up. They've got the baton now. Like they have the freedom to do pretty much whatever they want with the game now. So,
right. So I think that Imran is actually making some really great points in the chat right now about that NetEase money that they may possibly be willing to fund another year or two of Destiny 2 DLC. So who knows if maybe this will extend the life of Destiny 2. But what I'm really hoping we see is a proper sequel, Destiny 3, without a publisher kind of steering them in the direction they want them to go. We're on the verge of next gen, which I hate saying because we're always on the verge of next gen.
I know, yeah.
But for real this time.
Yeah. Well,
I called it on Twitter earlier today. I'm telling you, Destiny 3 on the Epic Store.
I don't think there's going to be a Destiny 3. I think it's going to be a game as a service thing that they're just keep evolving over time.
What I think is going to happen is, because based off of like some of the reports that Schreier has made, like part of Destiny's issue is they haven't been able to address like some of their technology and engine issues that underlie their ability to create content fast enough because of the release schedule that they were on from Activision based off of their requirements, for that agreement. What I think is probably likely to happen is they're going to make another game that's just like Destiny subtitle, and then that will be the platform from now on. Something that has proper technology behind it to be able to quickly iterate on it.
Destiny
And then-
real-time strategy game. It's coming. Next gen.
Nettie's money, Destiny Mobile.
Destiny Wars.
Well, and also that they might want to move from something that, Activision can't claim any kind of ownership over. Because it's not like tomorrow Destiny's getting Activision's name patched off of it or anything.
True.
I think we should highlight just how bad their tools are if Jason's reporting is anything to go on. I don't remember the specifics, but we're talking like, and so I'm just going off my memory here, but for example, something like moving a rock from somewhere to somewhere else could take 3 hours or overnight to render that change. Like extremely heavy, like dense tools that make it very impossible to make changes on the fly or be reactive. And I think actually that's going to be a huge, like we're talking years of overhauling their systems to get them to where they want to be if they want to move to a live service type game where they need to be able to make rapid changes and produce content at a quick pace. I think their best bet would be to continue to support Destiny 2 for another year or two, and in the background work on those tools, and then relaunch it with a new service, maybe early next gen, like 2020 or something like that. 2020.
So, RAR, and did we just lose somebody? We lost Steve.
We just lost Steve.
We lost our
Oh,
guest.
there you go.
Nice.
He's back.
Whoa, sorry about
Discord is so up and down. RAR in chat makes it really. He says so. I guess we'll see Bungie bounce back now. Who knows?
I was thinking about this earlier, and it's like I just realized it's probably going to be about like 4 years before we even know exactly how this is going to impact Destiny. It's going to be at least 2 years before we get like probably the major release that is made without any kind of Activision involvement, and then it's going to be a year or two after that to see how they support it over time.
Yep.
Before we really see if this is a good move.
I don't know. I want to kick this over to Steve. I want to kick this over to our guest. So I've been thinking about this ever since the news broke, right? Like how soon are we going to start to see a sea change for Destiny 2? And I know that Bungie wants to now that they're able to flex their creative muscles as hard as they can. I know that they're probably aching to start implementing changes in the game immediately. And even if they do that, just at the micro level, I think we're going to see change sooner rather than later. I think they are going to be. I think they really want to improve the not just the game itself, but I guess the perception of the game in the community, which right now isn't great. I don't know, Steve. What do you think, man?
Right. I think the most they can do with Destiny 2 at this point is really basically PR work. Improve the game's economy, improve smaller things about the game to help improve people's perception of it, to gain goodwill and credibility towards an eventual new game release. Like I said, I think, we're really close to the next Xbox. We already know that that's in the works.
Yep.
It'd be silly to think a PlayStation 5 isn't in the works, or I don't think it's in the hands of developers yet, but it's definitely been spec'd out somewhere.
The Nintendo change is going to launch in 2023. Guarantee it.
Obviously.
The Nintendo Transform.
I'm waiting for this year's new Nintendo console, but we'll talk more about
I'm going to
that.
be a dope and buy it, I guarantee it, because it's Nintendo. But
Nintendo Switch Pro or Nintendo Switch Lite?
Nintendo Switch Pro.
Lite.
I'm a pro gamer. I'm a real
Lite.
gamer, Reb.
It's a Switch Lite. But we'll get another. Yeah.
No, I want to know from the Nintendo guy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So this year I'm confident we're getting a Lite, but I'm not ruling out a Pro. I
Okay.
would say I'm 100% on a Lite. I'm 50-50 on a Pro this year.
I want that sweet
Okay.
pro action.
Good
Oh,
to
and
know.
shout out to our buddy at MPD, Matt Pescatella in chat. Matt, we love you.
What's up, Matt?
Matt's coming on soon. Matt's
Hey.
coming on soon, very soon, to talk about NPD. By the way, Matt, we have missed your presence on the show.
So yeah, going back to Destiny
Yeah,
for a
please.
minute. I
No, don't sweat it, man.
think that we're going to see some minor tune-ups and differences in Destiny 2. I don't think we're even we may possibly get an expansion, but I doubt that. If there is an expansion coming out before Destiny 2 is sunsetted completely, then it was already in the works before this handoff took place.
I agree with that.
So,
Yes, me too. Probably whatever their big September update is, is still gonna come, and then after that, who knows?
Destiny
Yeah.
on Switch. Destiny on Switch. Come on, I believe. I choose to
No.
believe. I
No,
choose to
that's
believe,
not-
Steve.
Oh no.
In my heart.
I want it, but it's not gonna happen.
I would
I don't
love
think
Do
so.
that.
you really want to use the Switch Online for Destiny?
I want to play.
Do you really wanna
everything
use
on
the
the
Joy-Cons?
Switch.
Yeah,
I will
For Destiny.
try anything on the Switch.
I will
So,
literally. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I'll buy anything on the Switch.
Give me
Um,
gyro and I'll play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
true.
yeah, dude, the gyro controls would be.
Gyro aiming is the truth and the light,
Wait,
man.
I'm not even gonna front on that. Like that would. that would be amazing.
Gentlemen, please.
So
Sorry.
So, here's my question for everybody. Like let's talk about the positives here, right? Like I think how long is it going to be before this silly? And I'm speaking as somebody who has turned on his Xbox once in the past 4 months. Like, sorry, Zach, but I just don't play that thing very often. How soon are we going to see all that PlayStation 4 exclusive Destiny content disappear? Because I get the distinct impression that was an Activision choice and not a Bungie decision.
That deal that for the current stuff, that deal's up in September. And I assume it gets renewed like every year or whatever. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but for the stuff that's currently in the game, that the PlayStation exclusivity ends in September.
I don't think you're going to see it renewed, and I
don't think so either, and I hope so. I hope not too. I would so much rather have crossplay or cross-platform saves for Destiny than have some exclusive strikes and items that kind of suck.
By the way, just off topic, I don't know if you guys see what's happening in chat right now.
I don't even have an opinion. I was just joining in with everyone else.
Ian, there's no fucking we don't shit talk gyro controls on SDGC or in the chat, my man. Like that'll not only will that get you a swift ban, as you can see, everybody will leap on you like a bunch of cannibals jumping on a horse.
Gyro is bad.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. It feels weird.
Whoa. Let's be reasonable.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'll rephrase it. Gyro is bad in every game that I've tried gyro in.
You
better.
clearly have not tried it in Breath of the Wild.
I was just playing it today, and I'm not a huge fan.
Actually, I think
You
Breath of the
gotta
Wild is the worst gyro.
You gotta get used to it. Oh my god.
I see. The thing is with the Switch, I hate moving the screen I'm using to.
I can see. I just want to point out, Steve is managing to keep a very calm, united front, but I can see the rage. I can see the rage
Boiling with rage.
bubbling behind his eyes.
Wait, Steve, are you pro gyro or anti gyro?
Oh, I'm totally pro gyro.
Oh yeah, he knows. He gets it.
Gyro
Speaking
controls.
of which,
Gyro
I just gotta
controls-
throw it out to the Godfather on the Wii for having some of the best, most violent gyro controls.
Oh my god.
See, pointer controls, I'm all for.
Listen, Ian and all of you, I was once deluded like you. I played the first Splatoon with no gyro controls, and I was terrible. And when I
could
got
you?
Splatoon, but when I got Splatoon 2, I said, I read a bunch of articles online that said gyro is better. I'm gonna give it a fair shake. And I was reviewing the game, and I did the whole review period with gyro, and by the end of it, I was a fucking evangelist.
Yeah.
I'll just throw this out for everybody in this podcast and everybody in chat. If you want to see if you want to see like the apex of gyro controls like you've never seen before, go to YouTube and look at, I can't remember the exact name of the game, but it is a horse jockey game that you could play on either the Wii or the Kinect, and you simulate.
I already don't feel good about this.
No. You simulate riding a horse, and the guy playing it is so just enthusiastic about riding that horse. Like it's the most amazing thing you will ever see. May, don't shake your head at me.
It sounds.
I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna find the link.
Wait, what?
I'm gonna post it
I thought we were talking about gyro aiming.
You know
This
what,
just
fuck,
sounds
we're
like.
talking-
I thought you were talking about Activision and Bungie. What the fuck happened?
I told
Speaking
you
of
this
the Switch.
podcast is
Yeah.
fire, and
SDGC happened.
Not even the much improved production values we have are ever going to change the fact that we get off topic for fucking everything.
I have a segue from gyro back to Destiny.
Hit
I
us.
like
Right.
it. I like it.
So
So-
gyro is great in like Doom, Wolfenstein, and Warframe.
This isn't
which-
Destiny.
Which, yes, it's gonna get there.
Well, I know where it's going. I
know
can
where
see
I'm
where it's
going.
going.
I really want to see Bungie kind of go more in a Warframe direction with their business model, because they have like full control of their platform. Their back end is like made for quick iteration, and they just like are pumping out
It's a
free
hero.
content just constantly, and their community is so into it. That's the kind of like content release schedule that Destiny needs. I just don't think they're really equipped for it with their tools right now. But like they really need to look at what Digital Extremes is doing with Warframe, because it's kind of insane.
That's exactly what I'm thinking and hoping. Like, I can't imagine they're not looking at what Warframe's doing.
Yeah,
wanna
Warframe's
point
like
out-
that kind of like silent success story that like it's massive, but nobody really points to it. They always point at like Destiny and
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always like, oh, that's that dumb game JT's always.
No,
good, though.
Warframe is huge. Like, didn't they
Quick,
just like start having their own like annual conventions with like huge numbers of people turning out and everything?
Hold on.
Yeah, they've had like 2 or 3
Guys,
conventions.
guys. Quick shout out to Linda_New York in the chat. She says, we got a pretty lady and a bunch of handsome men. Flattery, everybody, will get you a fucking
Ooh.
call out on this podcast.
Thank you, Linda.
I
You're very
cannot
kind.
make that clear
That's
enough.
so nice.
Like, I just want to point out that nobody
John's
has ever-
affection is easily purchased. Like,
so easy. Like, and I just want to point out that nobody has ever commented on our good looks until Steve came on the podcast. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's worth anything.
it's that beautiful wavy hair.
He does.
It
It's those
is.
flowing locks. It's like they're feathered and
Mhm.
lethal and beautiful. It's just it's the whole thing, man. I like it. Anyway, please continue. I will stop this fucking podcast for flattery. I will derail everything for flattery.
You just have, John. You just have.
But no, I think Maddie, you're right, and that's kind of on the right path, because you are also correct that Warframe does not get enough attention for how much of a success it is. Like, to me, it was weird that Warframe coming to Switch wasn't as big of a story as it absolutely was. There's a ton of success to be had in that free to play model. And Destiny, like, whether they reform Destiny 2 into that or they launch their next Destiny project in that vein, I think Warframe is almost one of the best, like, kind of sets of guidelines you could follow for something like Destiny.
Yeah, and Warframe is like, if you just walk up to somebody in a GameStop and you're like, hey, how about that Warframe? They're gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you walk up to them and
statistically,
you're
a
like,
bunch of people are playing, so
yeah, but like I think that's like a very strong community that they've built, like, and it's not
reminds me
really
of,
like widespread.
It reminds me of sports games where they have, like, you don't hear about them in the regular gaming circles, but they have massive communities. They just happen to have they're kind of on their own little world discussing them. Like, there's just maybe not as much, because that's all these people play. Probably a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
They've just
Yeah.
found one game that they can log into every night, and
But like Destiny already has that mind share. So like
Yeah.
if they can leverage that into faster content creation and like more control of their kind of like flow of release, like it could be enormous, like even bigger than it got at its peak.
Yeah, like that's a really, really good point right there. So like the people that you run into in a GameStop are like the majority of the gaming purchasing audience. Like the people who are on the internet and know about this whole split between Activision and Bungie is like exponentially a much smaller group of people than the people who actually buy these games. So it really doesn't, just in terms of like whatever the next game is going to be, it doesn't matter quite so much in terms of initial sales what Bungie does with Destiny. If they slap the name Destiny on it, people are gonna fucking buy it. Now, if they botch it, that'll be a problem down the line. But just for, they have at least a little bit of leeway and a little bit of forgiveness with whatever the hell they do next, just because people already know Destiny is a thing and they will just go buy it.
I am really curious as to like how they go about like monetizing Destiny in the future for like, you know, if there is another game that becomes like the platform for Destiny, because it's something that, you know, has been talked about in a lot of the communities for Activision's games, how Activision has kind of been over monetizing stuff. Like Destiny has a lot of pretty expensive passes every year. Like when Forsaken came out, people were trying to figure out what they needed to buy to be able to play it, because there was, you know, weird rules with what was included and what wasn't. You know, there's the Eververse store, which has caused a lot of controversies, especially during, you know, event times and stuff. And like, and Call of Duty's been moving even more towards it. Like, Activision really kind of pushes for like over monetization. They don't they basically take the things that they can charge for and charge for them without doing the things for the community that other groups do. Because like right now, Call of Duty has a season pass, it has a battle pass, and it has expensive cosmetics. Like, so I'm really curious to see like what kind of approach Destiny takes in the long term.
So there's one more thing, one more piece of the puzzle here that I think we need to discuss before we move on to talking about Nintendo, and it is the actual effect on Activision itself. So I think it's safe to say that Activision is not in the best place right now. Today, the last time I checked, their stock had dropped by about 7%, I think.
It's a pretty hefty drop.
That's a big, yeah, man. That's a sizable drop.
Isn't that about as much as like Apple's dropped when they
Yeah,
had, like,
something like that.
we're talking about like
And
iPhone sales slowing down?
yeah, and so like the other thing to consider is that like a lot of Blizzard IPs aren't doing as well as they used to. Like, the Fallout. Like, I never agreed with the Fallout from the Diablo Immortal launch. But having said that, like it affected them. It affected that brand. There was a huge negative news cycle about the Diablo IP after that, and Overwatch is not doing anywhere near as well as it used to. Heroes of the Storm is being dropped. There's no news about Diablo 4. And I'll kick it over to Steve and then to Derek. Actually, I want to get Derek into the conversation. But like, where does Activision go from here? Because like, Destiny is still a moneymaker, and I'm surprised that Activision, for all the news about them being unhappy with Destiny 2's sales, like I can't believe that. I mean, the game is still successful, so I'm surprised they let this go, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm wondering what the future holds and what the immediate future holds for Activision right now.
Somebody in chat, I think it might have been MIDI, mentioned free-to-play Blackout could be a huge thing for Activision. Let me see who it was.
I don't know, Steve. I want to kick it to you. What do you think, man?
So I'm going to point out again our boy Imran in the chat, because he's really summing it up really well.
Imran's got the good takes. You just need to get you on the podcast, Imran.
Yeah,
You really do. He's an awesome guy. I make sure to pay him a visit every time I'm in town. But he says Activision is weird. There's a band of extremely dedicated people who want to make games constantly at war with people who are only concerned with shareholders. So you get your Sekiros and your Spyros along with everything else, which honestly I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Activision's going to be fine. They make money.
Well, yeah.
And I guarantee Bungie had to buy their freedom. So
I'm sure.
I'm sure that they took some of that NetEase money and sent it back to Activision to get Destiny. But I think that Activision is kind of this company that has an interesting dichotomy going on, where you do have some really talented creative people in it, but you also have people that are just looking to turn a quick buck, which is how you get things like the Eververse store out of it.
You have the Bobby Kotick's and the
Yeah. So I think honestly, Activision isn't going anywhere. They're the new EA kind of, people will hate them, but they'll buy what they make.
Yeah.
So,
and I consider it kind of like you've got to think that Blizzard is looking at this right now and thinking, oh God, if we only could have gotten away. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, if we only could have pulled away. Like, oh my God, why couldn't we make this happen?
Yeah, people still love us. Let us go.
Honestly, like I don't know, like maybe I should have rephrased that. Like maybe Blizzard is in a worse state than Activision is right now.
That's actually my take, to be honest with you.
Oh,
Activision's going to be fine. Activision makes a bajillion dollars. If you look back at what they've published over the last several years, it's mostly been remasters and recollections and Call of Duty and Destiny. Skylanders, which is now canceled. Sekiro is going to be like the odd man out for being one of the only Activision games that is like a standalone game, not attached to like a regularly monetized annual or service type franchise. But
I still have no idea how that deal happened. Is there any insight into how like From hooked up with Activision for publishing that game?
Not that we know of. But the big thing is like Activision has a ton of big licenses. They could find a way to drag back from the dead. Like they have some IP diversity to try to bring something back and fill up production pipelines and make some money. Like, them losing Bungie won't be the end of the world. I think the problem is Activision struggling does put that stress onto Blizzard, because we've already heard straight from, you know, the mouths of people at Blizzard, you know, how that's impacting management, that how that's impacting the way they approach their projects, and it's not exactly been Crash Remaster. That's what I was talking about. That counts. But Blizzard has kind of made it clear they're not really feeling great about the situation that Activision has put them in. And like I said before, Activision is like EA. It's a company, when they're doing bad, they take that out on the other companies attached to them. It's Blizzard who is ultimately going to get the whip cracked on them more, to get more predatory with its monetization in its games, to maybe be like drop standards on titles. That's not really the way I want to phrase that, but Blizzard's lost a little of its magic over the last few years, a little bit.
Lost a lot of it.
World of Warcraft, I know, because I'm a big
Yeah.
WoW fan, and that game is in trouble right now. It is not having a good expansion. People are super unhappy, and even like Legion. Legion had a really good launch when it came out, and it's generally regarded as a good expansion. But so far, Battle of Azeroth has not been nearly as well regarded. A lot of people are really upset with how it's proceeding. Just a lot of the systems that Blizzard put in place seem like regressions to what was being done before. People are excited about WoW Classic, but that's still only a very small subset of people.
They won't be excited for long.
No, they won't be excited for long. Once they remember that WoW Classic is actually shit, that'll be
It's
over.
terrible.
And they're also offering that for free with a regular WoW subscription. So, I mean, I don't know what that's going to turn out to be like. But then the other thing is, after, I believe when Warlords of Draenor happened and subscriptions went down, like, Blizzard stopped offering subscriber numbers, and they haven't since. They keep saying that every launch is better than the last one, and maybe that's true by some metric, but
it could be
also
spikes that drop back down.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the thought is, right? That, like, people aren't continuously playing this game. And, well, I mean, they have other big games too, like Hearthstone and Overwatch are still really big games, but yeah, they're kind of, they seem to be faltering, and it sucks because Blizzard does have some really good IPs that people have loved for years and years and years, and no one wants to see those disappear, but also somebody there's got to figure some shit out, and more aggressive monetization is probably not going to be the answer for some of those.
Yeah. Activision has long had a very, very aggressive, is the way I'll put it, like, management style. And I don't want to, I don't want to, but I'm going to kind of liken it to venture capitalism in a certain way. There's a bit of a strip mining effect going on. And I just feel like Blizzard has more life to drain. So if Activision, if Activision's struggling, then Blizzard's gonna be feeling that pain, I feel like, more than Activision proper. Because what can you do? So are you gonna stop Call of Duty? No.
Good mention in the chat to add on to that too. Heroes of the Storm esports got shut down,
That's right.
which basically like kills the viability for Heroes.
Yeah.
And then Hearthstone is also having its
It's
own
been
issues
struggling
with
a lot
community and its tournaments. So yeah, Blizzard's just hurting right now.
It's just weird to be talking about Blizzard hurting right now when, like, I don't know what, 2 years ago, like, they were at the top of their game. Overwatch was rocking. Hearthstone had what, 20 million players, like, and now we're talking about how and how much pain Blizzard is in. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's emblematic of just how quick your fortunes can change.
Heroes of the Storm is dead. Hearthstone is in a really tough position. StarCraft 2 is basically out of the public conversation entirely. Diablo 3 is, I mean, despite constant re-releases, is really not doing very hot in terms of player retention. WoW is struggling for all the reasons we said earlier. Blizzard's big win left in their chest is Overwatch, and even that is not doing them that great anymore. I mean, they made all their sales, and, you know, as far as we know, it hasn't really done them as good in terms of either player retention or monetization.
Honestly, I think Steve will agree with me. The answer is bring Overwatch to Switch.
Oh, absolutely. Have you seen Paladins or Overwatch Lite?
Oh yeah, no. That's how
There's a gaping hole for that kind of game left in the Switch's library.
Yeah. Paladins was part of my arsenal to get my son off of Fortnite, and like the other piece of that puzzle was Smash Brothers, and it finally worked. But I want to highlight two things in the chat real quick before we move on to our Nintendo discussion. One, I want to congratulate RARDK64 RAR. He has been listening to us for a few months now, and our chat has gotten bigger every single week. I love seeing all that activity, and we need another mod. So congratulations to RAR. He is our newest mod. So congratulations. Yeah, dude, you're gonna do awesome. And we appreciate you hanging out with us for so long, dude. Seriously. And the other thing I was gonna say, I can't fucking remember now because I've had like a couple.
It's probably what Imran said about basically the biggest success Blizzard has right now is Overwatch League, which is correct. Overwatch League is almost like the model for how esports should be run and should be presented to the public and publicly driven, and how it's succeeding for them as a business. Overwatch League is doing fantastic right now, and there's ways they could continue to improve, but that is definitely a very, very high point for Blizzard right now.
That's not what I was going to say at all, but I'm glad you pointed that out. So
There are certainly ways they could improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So I want to move on to some Nintendo discussion and the Twitter Direct, and I'd actually like to kick this over to Steve if you're comfortable talking about it, not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah.
But there was so based on last year and I believe the year before, everybody had been predicting a Nintendo Direct this week. I know that I was hoping for one today. I was like, oh man, here we go. It's time. And then we
Well, a January Direct is pretty much a tradition at this point that we get one in January after a little bit of holiday silence.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, here's what's coming, usually up through end of spring, maybe like kind of leading into E3 kind of territory.
Exactly.
Was last January the one that had the Chibi Robo on fire thing?
Which was amazing.
Okay.
I have a T-shirt of that. It's great.
So like I don't know, Steve. Like, were you expecting something this week?
Kinda. So that's hard to say. I'm definitely expecting something this month. I mean, like you said, the data kind of bears it out, right? We've had a January Direct for the last few years. So it's come to be expected at this point. And logically, January 10th just seemed like the date that a lot of folks, including inside the industry, were putting a pin in the calendar for. That said, I started to become pretty concerned earlier this week when I hadn't heard anything.
Yep.
Normally I'll know at minimum a few days in advance if there's going to be a direct, or I hear things from other developers or other people in the industry like, hey, I've heard, such and such has an announcement coming, and those announcements start to converge on one date and you can kind of put it together. I know that people on Twitter now are kind of speculating that there was a direct for the 10th and it got canceled. And
that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second.
All these announcements are weird, though.
But Nintendo still has major announcements they've got to have.
But
like
Derek, like Yoshi's Crafted World, like
Yoshi's release date dropping is probably the biggest and weirdest thing. Because everything else is re-releases, right? So far,
none of these announcements seem really like a release date for Final Fantasy X. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, people are
Dragon's Dogma.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't seem like a major direct announcement. Like, it's cool, but like, it's a niche game getting a Switch release. Like, Yoshi is the only one that is weird to me. But also, it doesn't seem like that would be the headliner of a direct or anything.
Yeah, Yoshi got like an hour and a half at E3 on their Treehouse stream and has been in like 2 other directs. I think they were probably like, all right, Yoshi had his time.
I think it came
I really want to talk to somebody at Good Feel at some point and figure out what happened with Yoshi, because wasn't it announced back at E3 of 2017? Is that right?
It was the first.
It was announced a long time ago.
It's dropped and it got all this attention, and then it just vanished. It was supposed to be a 2018 game, and it disappeared. But Woolly World was a big deal. Like, they put that on the 3DS. That was a really big game. But I feel like we have just not seen very much marketing for Crafted World hardly at all.
I think that game's in trouble, to be honest with you, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm again going to point out Imran in the chat, because what he says echoes what I've heard, and from what I know of Crafted World is that it's being developed in Unreal Engine 4, and the developers at Good Feel, this was their first time with that, and so they've experienced numerous difficulties in the creation of the game. So it's been something that has just been delayed.
Hey guys, can I pause this conversation really quick? I need to go because I need to go write up a story for games industry.
Oh no.
Epic and Improbable create $25 million fund to transition devs away from Unity.
What?
Oh wow!
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Unity's not having a good day.
Talk to you later. Enjoy yourselves.
Well, that's a capstone to that argument.
What a fucking day! All right, good night, guys. Have a great podcast. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Not a good day for Unity.
Well,
Indeed.
that's wow. Okay.
Man, Unity's probably not happy with Probable today, are they?
Breaking news here on SDGC. This has been, guys. I think we can all agree that this has been quite the. I don't know what the like. Derek's grabbing Yoshi. Okay, look. Okay, I can't get distracted. Okay.
All right, I'll put him away.
Okay. Wow. So anyway, back to Yoshi. Well, back to Nintendo in general. God,
Yeah, we'll go to that in a minute.
Go. Shit. that's
So,
gonna be a fucking loop.
let me get us back on track with Nintendo. We can try to maybe touch on this in a few minutes when we get more information. So I'll say one of the big things to me, because the only major thing that I would expect to be in a Direct so far that's been announced is the Yoshi release date. Everything else is a re-release of an existing game being ported to Switch. And then I think the Kirby's Epic Yarn on 3DS, but I mean, again, that's just a re-release port. But those are the kind of things that make really good filler, right? They take up 20 to 30 seconds of a Direct and you get a bunch of those things back to back to back. And they make really good Direct fodder. So the one big thing that I think needs elaboration, and somebody pointed out in chat, but I can't scroll up to see who it was. Fire Emblem Three Houses was supposed to be released last year, and we've still not seen or heard a lot about that. And I think a lot of us were under the impression, since it was just not gonna make it in 2018, that it would be probably in early 2019, which Fire Emblem games have been releasing in spring anyway, and now.
Derek, I just want to point out real quick, like unrelated to this, but I think it's funny. Like Rebecca is a legit games journalist for GamesIndustry.biz. Imran in chat is a Game Informer, and they both had to leave to cover this at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Imran was like,
what?
"What? I gotta go," and he's like, "God."
By the way, what kind of like embargoed business announcement comes out at 10 p.m.? Like,
Right,
look,
like,
you know what? So here's the
drop
thing.
this shit at the end of the day, boys. It's been a
And the
rough
fact that Epic Games is now involved with this is, look, I have not been on the like Epic Games like arm flailing brigade that's been going on, but them getting involved in this shit is starting to not feel great, guys.
No, it's not. Okay.
It's starting to raise some hairs on the back of my
I
neck.
don't want to derail.
Yeah.
So let's shift
I'll
back.
look up more
I
information.
wanna-
You guys do.
So, so you've got, so what was interesting to me about so this morning we started getting the Final Fantasy announcements, right? Like Final Fantasy 12, which is just a poor Final Fantasy game for all you guys that have.
We're not getting
get
into
out.
this.
Get out.
Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 12 is launching on Switch on April 30th. Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 are launching on April 17th, but no news about Final Fantasy 9, no news about 7, no news about Crystal Chronicles, which I'm looking forward to. and
tremendously.
No Chocobo's Mysterious
Absolutely.
Dungeon, which I'm looking forward to. So those release dates were conspicuously absent for me, and I agree with something that Imran said right before he left. The strangest thing about, for example, the Yoshi announcement was just the time, just a random 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, release date drop for Yoshi's Crafted World. And I don't know, man. Like maybe there wasn't a Direct announced for this week, but Steve, tell me what you think about this. Does it feel like they're offloading all the smaller stuff in preparation for something later this month?
That's what I believe. I've been hearing from multiple sources since probably October of last year that 2019 is just going to be fucking insane. I mean, people have said if you thought 2017 was good, like 2019 is going to blow your mind. And that's huge because we got Zelda, Mario, Splatoon, and Mario Kart all in 2017.
Well, let's look at the stuff that we know is coming this year, or that it lines up. We have Yoshi, we have potentially Bayonetta 3, we have potentially Pikmin 4, we know about Animal Crossing, we know about Pokemon, we know about Fire Emblem, potentially Metroid Prime 4, maybe not, and that's just what we know.
Right. And the folks I've talked to have told me that is the tip of the iceberg as far as 2019 is concerned. So my expectations are way up here. Oh yeah. I'm hoping we get Trilogy this year too. So
oh my god, if that thing ever gets announced.
Here's the thing about that, right? I had so many people tell me, so many people who are in the know tell me that it was going to be announced at the Game Awards, and it wasn't, of course. But I know for But Steve, I know for a 110% certainty that it's fucking real. Metroid Prime Trilogy for Switch is real.
Oh yeah.
It is a game that is absolutely coming, and it's coming this year. It's just I don't know why Nintendo won't fucking announce it. Please, Nintendo,
I feel like we've heard
announce the game.
We've heard that rumor 3 times, and every time it's
to me it feels like the Xenoblade Chronicles export thing. Does it exist? Maybe. Is it coming? I'll wait until it gets announced.
Derek, it's Steve. You tell me, but it's not a rumor. It's coming.
This is a different animal.
Okay.
I was so confident that Prime Trilogy was going to be announced at the Game Awards that I had a drafted article written and ready to go.
Damn.
I told the other editors at Nintendo Life that this was happening 100%, and it was the first time that I've been wrong on that.
I was telling these guys, I literally had reputable insiders DMing me saying, hope you're watching the Game Awards if you're a Metroid fan, because here it is, Metroid Prime Trilogy, and for whatever reason it was not announced. I think January, if we get a direct this month, Steve, that's it. They have to announce it.
Yeah. I definitely believe that we're going to hear a lot about Metroid this year. I think if we do get a direct this month, because honestly I believe we're getting one, but I don't have anything concrete yet, that it's going to be huge.
The alternative is they're dumping the small stuff so that they can focus on bigger things.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's because the possibility of them just straight up not doing a direct in January just feels wrong.
I think it'll be.
What it kind of feels like to me is that they're gonna do a deep dive on something, like what they did with
Smash at E3.
Smash ones, yeah. It might not. I don't know what game it's gonna be, but it could be Fire Emblem. It could be Animal Crossing.
Could it be Metroid Prime 4?
Probably not this early, but
I don't want to say it because Metroid Prime's my favorite game ever. I've been waiting for this game for a long time, and I don't want to jinx it because I feel like if I say it out loud, which is why I said Animal Crossing.
I feel like Fire Emblem would be the likely suspect.
Yeah,
considering
that's actually what I'm leaning.
How much closer to release it is, and how little we know about it, and the fact that Nintendo's been trying to make Fire Emblem. Well, I'll say they succeeded at making Fire Emblem a pretty good pillar of their release.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Especially
Fire
with
Emblem is a thing for Nintendo.
Especially with Heroes taking off too.
Yeah.
I expect Fire Emblem on Switch to be a really big deal.
And I
think if this is them kind of burning off some smaller announcements, it's not because they're planning a big megaton after megaton thing. Yeah. It's going to be a deep dive on a specific game. I
think the most likely candidate. So Steve, tell me what you think, but I think we'll get an announcement for Metroid Prime Trilogy. I don't think that'll be the deep dive. I think the first deep dive we're going to get on a direct this year is going to be Animal Crossing, and I think it's going to release in the summer. I don't think this is a holiday game.
I don't think so.
I agree
Jeff is muted, but I wish I could have just heard him right there.
Yeah. It's not safe for Twitch.
Yeah, Animal Crossing is going to be a huge focus. I see it launching in September at the latest. Because people love to play that series over the holidays, and I think it'll be a huge holiday seller. But I think, I think that our options are either Metroid Prime Trilogy or Animal Crossing, because I see them holding off on Pokemon Gen 8, which is also coming this year.
Yeah.
Until E3. I think that's going to be...
Or right before E3. It's been kind of in that neighborhood for a couple of releases.
Doesn't Game Freak normally do their own thing with Pokemon, though? Like with showcasing that?
It's gone back and forth, I think, because they've had...
I think usually the mainline one have been more with Nintendo. They kind of do their own thing, I think, for a lot of the spin-offs. Let's Go was in a direct and stuff.
They got their
right?
own direct for that, I thought.
Yeah,
They had
and-
the direct where they
Yeah.
announced Quest and
it was a
what was that-
Pokemon
whatever that
related,
other one
and
was.
but then like Sun and Moon and X and Y were both released standalone before E3, but like right before E3. But then I think Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were both just in an E3 presentation, if I remember right. So,
Right.
So-
I see Pokemon Gen 8 as being their holiday game this year.
oh yeah,
Oh
Let's
yeah,
Go.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with, Let's Go having released so recently. And to be honest, I see that kind of ties into my whole theory surrounding the Switch Lite. I think we're going to get the Switch Lite specifically because of Gen 8 coming to Switch.
Do you think
That-
that's good? So when you say
That's a
Switch
really
Lite,
good point.
That's gonna be like a non-dockable Switch, just a permanently handheld Switch.
I don't know.
I don't know that you
say
save
I would
much
guess-
by doing that, though.
I mean,
to be
I just,
honest,
it's
Well, I would
counterintuitive to
guess-
the entire title of the console. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it probably just wouldn't come with the dock or
Well, that's
something.
what I'm saying. Like,
And,
the Switch
like,
is a fully
yeah.
portable device. You just
Yeah.
remove the dock.
and you
like-
don't save much because the dock is what does most of the work.
It could just be a smaller one that's more like pocketable. Because I know some people have complained, the Switch isn't portable enough for them.
Well, it's funny when they announced
like,
that was my
yeah.
big complaint, and then I
Yeah.
ended up not using it portable. But yeah, like
I
a
will
Vita
say
and a
this, though.
3DS.
But like,
come on.
but I
will
mean,
say
that
this,
makes
when I was
that
hanging out
makes-
with when I was hanging out with Jeff Grubb at PAX West, we were training for the Kind of Funny Intersite Championship the next day, Steve, and we were at a bar, and he just pulls his Switch out of his pocket, no protection, with just pulls. I was like, no, don't you, no.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
but,
no.
This is why he lost.
But I think that makes. But I really think that makes a lot of sense with Pokemon, because also, like, part of the reason the mainline Pokemon games have sold so well is because they were on lower cost handhelds. So I think launching like a cheaper, maybe smaller, more portable, kid friendly Switch alongside Pokemon would make for a lot of consoles sold and a lot of games sold.
Well, and there's a lot of options. As was brought up, I mean, you could remove the dock and just still let people use the dock that already exists and is sold separately. And that's a good way to cut costs.
Like, if you take away the dock, it's already a Switch Lite. I mean,
Well, right, but you could sell the Switch without the dock, and then you have a lower price point for people who just want, and then they can buy the dock later to make it, to get like their home kit, right? But that's a good way to lower the entry price point. Another thing is you could maybe make a model that doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons. It still has the Bluetooth capability. It still can connect to wireless controllers, but it can be a little bit sturdier for the kids, and it can be a little bit cheaper for not having the removable components, and the Joy-Cons not being wireless. I think that's a possibility. Another thing is they could honestly increase battery life very easily just by moving up to a newer chipset. A lot of people talked about them moving up to like the X2 instead of the X1 or a related chipset, and getting additional power out of that, like, oh, Switch Pro, and like, no, knowing Nintendo, they would move up to that better chipset, because then at similar clock rates, they could get better energy efficiency out of it. And that combined with maybe a little bigger battery, they get much better battery life, which helps with the portability aspect for people who want to take their Pokemon out and about. So, I mean, there's a lot of options, but I think Switch Lite is the way. Not Switch can't be docked ever, not home console only Switch. It's not going to compromise on that possibility, and I really don't think we're going to see a 4K Switch. I'm sorry, Twitter
no,
insiders.
No.
It's not fucking happening. Like,
So I've
give me-
got
Give me that Switch Lite with better cooling and better battery life, and I'm all in.
If there's an OLED model of the Switch at any point, which isn't Nintendo's MO, but if that ever happened, I just got a Switch a couple months ago. I would throw money at that.
that would be like a Switch Pro kind of thing down the road if that was to happen. I still think that like a graphically, like a dock that has a supplemental external GPU would be maybe a smarter choice than a separate Switch model. But
so hold on.
what do I know?
I got a zesty take I want to drop, and
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I don't like your zest.
No.
We've only handled so many.
I'm gonna put some spice on this one. I got some spice. So if there is a Nintendo Direct this month, I think Metroid Prime Trilogy will be announced, and I think it's going to drop in February.
Do we have a Nintendo first-party release in February yet?
Not, which is why I think that that's what's going to happen.
Something's coming, and it's going to be like a port or a collection. It's not going to be
a port.
something new that soon.
It's going to be a port. You don't drop a new first-party major Nintendo game in February.
Unless it's Fire Emblem, because they've done very well in February.
Fire Emblem, I think, is a April-May title.
Didn't Awakening and Fates both hit in February in the West?
I think they did, but I think
Fates definitely did, and I mean, it made stupid money. So
I think Fire Emblem though would kind of want just more of a marketing lead time. I actually kind of agree with John that a Metroid Prime trilogy
that does make more sense.
Would probably be a good fill-in.
Here's
for that quick turnaround.
Here's the other part of this take, and I want to kick it to Steve. Not only do I think Metroid Prime Trilogy will be announced this month and come next month, I am not 100% confident that Metroid Prime 4 is a 2019 title at all.
I'm totally with you on that.
I think it's reasonable to believe that could go either way. I think people who are saying it's definitely not coming this year, I mean, unless they have specific knowledge that it's not, that'd be one thing. But I think without specific information, the gut feeling should be that it could go either way.
Well, hold on. Steve, go ahead.
So, first off, John, you were right on the money. Fire Emblem Awakening actually released in April.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought, yeah.
June, and Echoes released in April. So, that's a really
Fates was definitely February in the West. I remember because I worked for Nintendo when Fates launched.
Maybe that's true.
Yeah, double checked. I could swear it was a February release in the West because I remember, unless my memory is just fucked. And Bourbon can do that.
I remember February for Awakening, but
yeah, let's look at Western. I could swear both those were February. I did not work at Nintendo when Awakening hit, but I did when Fates hit, and I remember that.
Great question.
But I could be wrong.
Okay, so I apologize. It released almost a year earlier in Japan in April.
Yeah.
It released in North America the following February.
Okay.
So we were both right, and we were both.
But it's also going to be unusual for
Everyone's
Fates.
wrong.
Have we gotten specific word whether or not Three Kingdoms is going to launch worldwide simultaneous, or are we going to have that year-long delay?
So my problem with even an April date for Three Houses is that we've heard almost nothing.
Yeah.
We've seen almost nothing. So unless there's a direct this month that just blows the lid off of this game, I don't see it releasing even in the next 90 days.
I mean, that's reasonable.
Right?
Yeah.
So I could see it being a summer game, if anything. It could be at E3 or something like that, but I anticipate Nintendo's going to focus on a much more well-known first-party game like Animal Crossing or Metroid.
Animal Crossing is E3 territory. That's going to be the showcase, man.
Animal Crossing and Pokemon is going to be Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's too early. I think it's too early for us to hear about Pokemon Gen 8 right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be an E3 and beyond thing. I think the smart money is on. And here's the thing: I don't think because this is going to be Fire Emblem's first time on a home console, and that's
in a while.
Home console
since the Wii, right?
Yeah. Since Radiant Dawn.
It was the Wii. Yeah, no, you're right.
No, there was a couple on the Wii.
There was just the one. It was just Radiant Dawn.
It was just the one.
Radiant Dawn. Yeah, it was Radiant Dawn on the Wii. Was the last one that we've seen, but it's been a while. I don't think that they're going to devote an entire direct, or I don't think we're gonna. I don't think. Let me clarify. I don't think we're gonna get a Smash style direct.
No, only Smash would get that kind of direct, though. I don't know any other game in Nintendo staple.
Animal Crossing, I think, could potentially get that kind of direct because that is a massively popular franchise. Jeff is like, I can't if I hear Animal Crossing.
Derek disrespected Animal Crossing.
Derek. But
I mean, we have had Fire Emblem centric
direct
before, but
that included mobile stuff. So
it was Heroes
and Echoes and Fates.
And I don't think Metroid Prime 4
or not
going
Fates,
to its own direct because Metroid, I love Metroid. Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games of all time, but Metroid doesn't have the mind share that Mario or Zelda or even Animal Crossing has. So I don't there's got to be that one game. If there is a direct next week, and next week, I think maybe we will get a direct.
And neither Bayonetta nor Pikmin are big enough to blow the windows out. So,
but I love Animal Crossing. Is that a deep enough game to have a Smash? It works because you have all the different fighters and they're different. How do you? I don't know. I don't see how you
Nothing
do
will
like
have
a-
as big of a as much strict airtime as Smash did, but I do think Animal
talking like a
Crossing will end
showcase
up
game.
being a major part of the E3 showcase. It's just too big. It's one of their biggest evergreen titles. Animal Crossing is something they can
also-
put Animal Crossing out and it will make them money for the next 5 years. So it's a big deal for them. Animal Crossing New Leaf was one of the biggest priorities when I was there. Was continuing to push that years after launch. So.
One thing I've heard, just speculation and stuff, and I think this is actually something we predicted. I think John and Zach mentioned in their predictions is some kind of 2D Zelda or something.
We've heard a lot of word about that.
There's been a lot of rumors. And I don't know what Steve has heard about that, but there's been a lot of rumors flying around that.
Because the announcement of a Zelda title would be a big deal, no matter what, and that would get a ton of time in a direct.
Steve, what do you think about that, man?
So I've definitely heard that there's a new Zelda title for this year, but that it's a smaller title. It's like a 2D, like you said, a 2D Zelda. And while I do agree that a Zelda title would get a good amount of time in a direct, I think that they would. I don't want to say underexpose it, but they would place the appropriate amount of focus for a 2D game, because right now most people's attention on the grandiose nature of Zelda would be on a 3D, like a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and we're definitely not getting that. So I think it's way too early in the year for a 2D Zelda to be revealed. What I've heard is that if it is in fact coming in 2019, it's late.
It's a holiday.
It's not going to be like
December,
like
Smash release.
That'll be a good supplementary late year title.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be like November, like Link Between Worlds.
Supplementary my ass. I'll drop fucking everything I have for a 2D Zelda.
Well, I mean supplementary
aside
it
from,
isn't Pokemon or Animal Crossing,
So fucking 2D Zelda. I also think this is going to be the year of Mario Maker 2. I think you need a 2D Mario. I don't think New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe is going to cut it. I'm really excited for it, but I don't think that's going to be their big Mario title this year, because it's a port. I think a Mario Maker 2 announcement sometime this year with I don't know, maybe that seems like a good slot for an October first party Nintendo game, Mario Maker 2. I don't know. I think it's entirely possible.
What's going on with Retro's game that was rumored? What?
Yeah, the Star Fox Racing.
Yeah.
We've heard haven't we heard that there was some difficulty in develop. There was that, which was kind of like a little rocky, but was moving ahead, and there's another project that was so rocky we might as well have considered it not started.
So I know that the rumor I'd heard, and I don't know what Steve has heard, but the rumor that I had heard was that they had 2 projects going, and one of them was canceled.
Yes.
Yeah, so
that sounds about right
as well.
Wasn't there also Luigi's Mansion 3 announced?
That's coming.
That's coming this year.
Shit, we didn't even think of
yes.
Shit.
That's another
Luigi's
solid
Mansion
mid-level release for Nintendo. It'll be a really good game. It will do well. It's not going to be. It's not going to be
I love Luigi's
Pokemon or Animal
The
Crossing.
original's the best.
The original's so much better.
No, I like
The original's
I
so
like
much better.
no,
I like
One
having the single big
mansion.
mansion.
Team One Mansion.
So I'm with you there, but I think that I love the fact that, I mean, because Luigi's Mansion is like 4 hours long, right? And I love spending time with that character. So I think Luigi is infinitely more interesting than Mario could ever be. So I just there's something about the aesthetic and the length of Dark Moon that I really love. I do agree that One Mansion is better, and I think that's what they're going to go back to for Luigi's Mansion 3.
Well, I didn't mean to start a fight. I was just talking about potential games that could be coming out.
Over Luigi's Mansion.
I will burn this mansion to the ground.
But no, dude, I hadn't even thought about Luigi's Mansion. Steve hit the nail on the head when we.
This is a busted year, man.
What a fucking year this is going to be for Nintendo! Like, holy shit!
Yep.
Just think about that. Like Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing, potentially there is a Metroid game coming out.
I'm gonna have to pick first-party titles to pass on this year. I'm not gonna have time for all of them.
I mean, we still don't know what the fuck is going on with Pikmin 4. That could be a 2019.
That was almost done 6 years ago.
Yeah, right? Who knows what's going on with that? Fire Emblem. I mean,
4, whatever.
A 2D Zelda. I mean, holy shit, Nintendo.
Yeah, and also keep in mind too, Sony and Microsoft are kind of winding down their support for their current consoles, and looking forward to next gen stuff. Like this year is going to be a Nintendo dominated
Well,
year.
we got to see what third parties have in store because like the first several months of this year,
yes, but I mean,
third parties are
like,
fucking
in terms
killing
of-
it. So
in terms of like
out of the
hardware-
first parties,
hardware
right?
pushes and
Hardware
first parties and
so
stuff like.
I just don't feel
agree.
good saying like, oh, Sony's gonna have a rough year when they've got like Ace Combat and Sekiro and Devil May Cry and
I
and
didn't
like
mean
our-
so much.
yeah,
I didn't mean so much rough year. I just
yeah,
meant,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, the past few years of the PS4 have been exceptional.
I'm just providing an
Um,
asterisk to what you're saying
yeah.
is all.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
I'm
this
not
is, like,
disputing it.
This is a system in its sixth year.
Every analyst, including our good friend Matt Piscatella at NPD, has predicted that Switch will be the big hardware seller this year.
Oh, yeah.
110%.
Switch is gonna kill it this year.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna fucking murder it.
There's no way PS4 and Xbox do what they did. last year.
My big when we talked about 2019 predictions, I said that Gen 8 Pokemon is going to leave a smoking crater in the ground that we're all standing at the lip of and staring in the center at awe. Like Gen 8 Pokemon, it does not have to be some Breath of the Wild style reimagining. Big, good HD Pokemon on a system as popular as the Switch, with that Switch multiplier in action, it's gonna move consoles, it's going to move units, it is going to nobody is going to be prepared for the sales numbers this holiday season.
So
Oh, absolutely.
Oh no, I completely agree. And actually, I want to point out something that Rar said in chat. I hadn't considered this. What about October for Luigi's Mansion 3?
I love it.
That's actually
What
why
do you
I
want?
thought about it when you mentioned October.
That
And
makes
then
a lot of
November
sense.
for
Luigi's Mansion,
Pokemans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we're not even considering like possible Wii U ports, just kind of like to pad out the
Xenoblade X,
and-
Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Wonderful
I don't think-
101,
I
I want that.
Bravely
Tokyo Mirage
Duology.
Sessions.
Give me an HD Bravely
Tokyo
Duology.
Mirage Sessions is
Choke me to
100
death.
times- I don't know, Steve. You tell me what you think, but I think Tokyo Mirage Sessions is 100% more likely than Xenoblade Chronicles X. I don't think you're going to see an export.
I think
have a
both
sealed
both
copy
will
of
have.
that
Oh,
on my shelf. I need
Oh,
them
we lost John.
to port it.
oh no, we lost John.
All right, John's gone. Time to talk.
It's okay.
Uh,
Yeah, it's because he
I
talked
hope
shit about the Xenoblade export.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm sorry for talking about Xenoblade X that way. I'm sorry. I should never have done it.
I hope this isn't too. I hope this isn't too off topic, but like since we're just talking about Nintendo and ports and stuff like that, and we've got some Nintendo folks on the podcast right now. Is there any chance that we ever see like the 3DS like Ocarina of Time stuff hit Switch, or is
Ooh.
no? I'm not saying like this year, just in general. Like I would love to play those games, but like I don't have a 3DS.
I don't.
And I've
I don't.
heard
I don't think it's out of the
want it.
question to see Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask hit as like eShop titles, maybe
Okay.
down the road. Like
let Steve
they're
go.
not going to get majorly remastered. I don't think.
I don't think
So-
no, but I've heard they were developed or rendered like created with at a high resolution and then just downscaled for the 3DS. So
Yeah, people have emulated them, and there's a ton of texture detail that's just entirely lost on the 3DS.
Absolutely. That said, I don't think they're coming, or at least I don't think Ocarina is coming anytime soon. I do
Not
think
soon.
the Switch has a really long life ahead of it, especially if we start talking about upgrading to a Switch Pro at some point. I think that Nintendo is going to ride that popularity as long as they can. But there is a very interesting Zelda-related Easter egg in an unreleased game that I can't yet talk about. Which it's so far out of place that it leads me to wonder
Oh,
if
really?
maybe Nintendo's doing something with one of those old games. That's all I can say.
really?
Interesting.
Steve, you dropping those
One other
those
thing.
nuggets. Those
Uh,
those nuggets on SDGC here. Wow.
Them frosty nugs of,
Wow.
of wisdom.
Oh God.
I'm actually just more confused.
I'm titillated.
Like, I'm actually.
It's a weed
more
reference,
intrigued as
Justin.
to-
Don't be confused.
No, I'm more intrigued as to what game this is in than.
We'll find
than
out soon
the
enough.
teams,
Okay, let me lay
actually.
some ground rules real quick. After we go off the air here in a minute, nobody is allowed to bug Steve. as to
Yeah,
what-
no. Let's leave that one where it
Yeah,
lies.
Of course.
Be
Nobody-
respectful. Maddie had a thing.
Yeah, one other 2019, possibly 2019 title, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
right.
Maybe this
Oh,
year,
yes.
maybe?
Shit, you're right.
But maybe not in the West. Might just be Japan this year. and
There'll
then-
be a delay for local. That's
Yeah,
not
the
going to be
West.
worldwide.
Oh, hey, Imran's back. Imran says, based on knowing what you've been playing, I know what you're talking about.
I might talk to Imran quite a bit.
The plot fucking thickens, my
Now we
friend.
gotta
That's the
look at
difference
what's
between the
coming out
people
next
who are
few weeks.
further into the industry than us versus us amateurs. So
The plot thickens. We're bumping up against an hour and a half, and we should probably start wrapping this bad boy up. Let's do some housekeeping real quick for everybody in chat. So I want to just point out that our chat has been growing steadily every single week. I'm really happy about that. If, as you guys can see here in chat, I'm wearing my uniform tonight here, and we are going to put those. I've decided today back on sale very soon with a couple different colors. I'm wearing the purple one here. There's going to be kind of a pink.
why would
magenta
you
one to
pick
match
not?
our-
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, no.
Our other color.
There's going to be purple and pink, and you guys will be able to purchase those very, very soon. I am also working on, and this is I've not told anybody in the podcast this yet, so this is a first for everybody here. I am working on. We are having SDGC beanies.
Yes.
So you guys,
You can give the poor Gungeon one a rest.
I can finally retire the yoke.
No,
You
he
finally
can't.
wash it.
I probably
No, he can't.
because I hosted Kind of Funny with Greg Miller with this fucking thing on my head, and now I'm probably cursed to wear this thing for the rest of my life. But yeah, so SDGC beanies are going to be coming down the pipeline as well. And Dio in chat says your uniform is a Waluigi outfit. Where is it? The one I ordered does not fit, so I had to return it. And
You're
said,
too swole for Waluigi.
Like literally, the hat looked like I was wearing a propeller beanie on my head, like this tiny little. I was like, "There's absolutely no fucking way I'm wearing this thing."
Did we just get Reb back? Reb, what's
Reb
going
back is
on?
back. Look at
Give
that.
us an
No.
update on the story.
Y'all still fucking rolling?
Give us
Reb, we
yes.
were-
Give us an update on the
I'm
story.
paying the bills right now. But you got something juicy for us? Or you got-
Did you guys already talk about it?
No,
No,
not really,
no.
because there was no further info. I looked up a couple articles, but I couldn't find anything beyond what you said, basically. So
Yeah, I
Give
mean,
us a quick update.
It was a little weird. Yeah, it was a little weird. So, yeah, I guess there's apparently no news story so weird that you can't just throw fucking Epic Games into it and make it weirder.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
real quick. Guys, super important announcement. Breaking news for everybody.
No more.
My wife, Vicky, is in
I-
chat right now, so everybody
Oh.
say hi.
Oh,
hi,
hey.
Vicky. I was gonna
That's
say I
fine.
can't see what could be so important, but hi, Vicky.
I'm required by marital law.
Yeah, no, you're fair.
Marital
Anyway,
law.
Rebecca, please continue.
Yeah, so I guess just hold on, I just
It's like maritime law, but it's timeless.
Sorry, I always forget that my push to talk button is also accidentally a back button on my browser. Yeah, so okay, I guess Improbable in that ridiculous blog post they did, they were confident for a reason. They have partnered with Epic Games to establish a $25 million fund to help developers, quote, transition to more open engines, services, and ecosystems. Which
AKA
is,
Unreal.
Okay, Unreal. Yeah, basically, the statement was penned by CEO Tim Sweeney and CEO Improbable CEO Herman Narula. Epic Games is partnering with Improbable. They're creating a fully open Unreal integration for Spatial OS. And yeah, so the fund is getting sourced from Unreal Dev Grants, Improbable Developer Assistance Funds, and Epic Games Store funding. We believe that we are at the beginning of an unprecedented age of inclusive online games that become parts of our everyday lives. Enabling this will take much more than Epic or Improbable. It will take a vastly more mature, broad-based industry to enable this future. A community of companies connected by values such as fair and openly disclosed business terms, respect for developer choice, and full interoperability between platforms, software, and services. We encourage others with a similar vision to reach out so we can find ways to make it come sooner.
So I want to make a comparison point here. Is anybody else getting the same energy off this? Is like, for example, when that one guy at Google put out the super sexist memo and then got fired and immediately turned that into a talk show run? Like, is anyone else getting that? I'm not saying that there's an alt-right thing going on here. I'm just saying, is anyone else getting that same kind of energy
Same
off of this? Like, whew.
I love
Because
how
they fucked up and they're trying to turn we fucked up into we are being oppressed and everyone is being oppressed and come join us in our oppression.
You know,
This
Derek,
has to be the fastest turnaround of that I've ever seen.
It's pretty quick.
Oh, but I mean, okay, so like if you look at the timeline on this, that like if you combine the Unity story and the Improbable story, I mean, we still don't know what Improbable did that upset Unity, but this you can probably take what Unity says that this has been going on for a year at face value. So it sounds like Improbable and Unity had some sort of kerfluffle that never got resolved or was a problem, and who knows who was at fault there. But regardless, Improbable has been thinking about how it was going to respond to this for a long dang time. And so I'm sure that, because Improbable was in control of this news. Improbable was the one who
started it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they basically came out and said today, like, they were the ones who dropped the post and said, yeah, Unity fucked up. What's their problem? They changed their terms of service, those jerks. And, you know, they're ruining all these developers now. Like, they basically said that. And Unity's now accusing them of lying about that, but Unity did not control when this narrative dropped. Improbable did. So them dropping that was obviously them knowing that they had Epic kind of in their pocket.
I'm not liking Epic's involvement in this.
No.
It almost sounds like they dropped that news to get people already like starting to think about switching to Unreal before the official thing came out.
Well, and it's weird because I read the official thing a little bit in an article, and they talk about like devs who are affected by like Unity's like dropping support, and like the stuff that Unity explicitly said was not going to happen. So even the announcement, or like, correct me if I'm wrong, like referenced that kind of thing happening that they, in their original post, said Unity was doing, that they were going to cut support for people who use their middleware technology, their spatial OS or whatever. And again, that's the stuff that Unity came out and explicitly said was not going to happen, that they were going to, like you said, grandfather in people from before.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, like, and I said this in chat earlier. I didn't actually say this like on the camera or anything. But I mean, there are still some developers who are worried, and I get why they're worried, because they're looking. I mean, Improbable isn't wrong. I'm not a legal person. I don't like understand legalese, but it does seem that there is something to be concerned about in the way Unity's terms of service are worded. It also sounds like Unity is at least front-facing, saying that, hey, we are going to continue supporting you guys, and if it kind of seems like they'll probably revisit those terms of service and do something to adjust the wording of them to mean what they are supposed to say they mean. They may or may not do that. I don't know. I don't have enough background on what kind of a company Unity has been in the past to say what I expect them to do one way or another. But I mean, it does seem like there's some sort of concern, and so Epic is swooping in and saying, hey, you guys are worried. Come over to Unreal. We got a spatial OS integration. It'll be easy breezy. We'll give you money.
This is super weird.
Take our Fortnite money.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's Spatial OS, the Improbable. They're saying that today, like suddenly, it was so sudden, the terms of service changed, and then Unity says we knew about it a year ago, and then they come out with this deal that
it sounds like they've known.
Well, so Improbable is saying this is a change in the terms of service that happened on December 4th. And that they only received a clarification from Unity today that specified that their stuff was no longer going to work. I'm translating that into today, Unity finally turned off their frickin' Unity keys and said, you guys can't use this anymore. But that's something that had been brewing for a long time, it sounds like. I don't know. Yeah. There is some story here somewhere. Where's Jason Schreier?
Where's
Jason fucking Schreier when you need that man?
This news, the beginning of this news story definitely got like way overshadowed by Destiny and Bungie and Activision. But I think by the end, this has turned into a significantly bigger long-term story to me. And I hope it gets continuing coverage.
Epic being involved means this is going to get way more coverage.
There's going to be headlines tomorrow. Yeah.
Because every single site and anybody talking about the business side of the industry is laser focused on anything Epic does at this point.
Yep. Absolutely.
Epic is fucking playing cards left and right, man. Like they're not.
I do not like their involvement with this.
I don't like. Do they just have they're just like not afraid because they have so much money?
Honestly,
is that what's happening?
Well, how much did they made X billion off Fortnite in the last
$3 billion in profit.
Yeah, in
Jesus
profit.
fuck.
That's after costs. Like that's the take home money.
By next gen, there's going to be no Switch 2, or
Blech.
PS6,
Imran.
or Xbox 3. It's just going to be the Epic box, and every game, every developer is going to be rolled up into the Epic box.
Put aside
I will
all
say
the
better the Epic box than the Mad box.
putting aside all
We
the
can't even touch the map. We can talk about the Mad Box next week. We can talk about the Mad Box next week because we are getting along in the tooth. I do have some cool announcements to.
Oh yeah, you were teasing an announcement that none of us knew about.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
no, it was the bean. It was the bean.
Oh, it was
Those
the beanies.
beanies.
Okay.
But there's some also. I just want to point out that Rebecca, we're so glad that you came back for the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I caught you guys.
But we got some we have what I call the caravan of guests going on right now. Steve was an excellent guest tonight. We really enjoyed having you on, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Next week, so we have guests coming on like one after the other for the next few weeks. Next week we have Lucy O'Brien from IGN.
Is next week Lucy?
What's that?
Yeah, next week is Lucy, and after that it's Jeff Grubb.
Next week is Lucy. The week after that is Jeff Grubb from GamesBeat. So Jeff Grubb will be on. I can now confirm to you that Jeff Canada will be coming on the podcast as well. I don't know if he's going to be doing a live podcast or pre-recorded content with us. We were talking about that, but he is going to be doing some kind of collaborative effort with SDGC, and that's not even counting our guest that I cannot name yet, but a very big, very cool, very well-known guest that I'm very, 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 very excited to have on the podcast, who will be joining us soon. Soon is all I can say, but I'm very, very excited for that. So as Square Enix would say, please be excited for the future on that one. And with that, just a couple more things. Don't forget, we have our episode. What is it? We up to 7, Derek, on our Final Fantasy retrospective.
Yeah, 7 went up. We need to record more. We haven't done 8.
We
need to record more. So we'll work on getting that together.
Yep, I think this weekend we might be looking at recording some more, and not only will Natalie Flores, but Tom Johnson will be joining us as well for some of those.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really cool. And I need to get Natalie on the podcast, like on the Thursday show.
You need to wait until I come back.
I'm gonna wait till you come back.
Because Natalie is my soul. I will be out for probably like a month or so while I move to Kansas City and transition into some big life changes. But I'll miss you guys.
We're gonna miss you too. And and Imran, please feel free to come on whenever you want. You have an open door.
Yeah, man.
We would love to have you.
Wait till I'm back. Stop inviting all the people I know onto the podcast when I'm not here.
I mean, we're stuck for the next couple weeks, so
we are.
Also, smaller things coming up over the next couple of weeks. Sunday, John and I are gonna sit down before Resident Evil 2 hits. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna go back to Resident Evil 5, and we're gonna go back and kind of revisit this and regather some thoughts. Since it's been a long time, it was kind of a heated and controversial title, and I think Resident Evil got worse after that. So we're gonna look at that and do some co-op of that on Sunday. I'm going to be doing some launch day first impressions for Ace Combat 7 next Friday as I get started on my review as SDGC's first review of the year. And that's what I got.
And Derek, I will end on this. I want to remind everybody in chat that Pause for Popcorn is back. That is Jeff's movie podcast that Justin appears on, and the relaunched episode of that is up on YouTube and all of our podcast services right now, I believe. So Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts. You can find Pause for Popcorn on there. And I am so happy to have our movie podcast back, Jeff. So that is fantastic. We're so glad that you're back, period. And when can we expect the next episode of Pause for Popcorn?
Well, I want to clarify, it's mine and Justin's podcast. We're equal partners.
I said Justin.
You said Justin appears on it, but
okay.
Yeah, we haven't talked for our next recording. I think both of us want to have it at least be a monthly thing, and if we get them out even more often, that's great. So we'll hopefully maybe even try and record a couple episodes next time, and then we can just kind of start spacing those out and getting a good flow thing. So but the response to the first one has been really good. So
yeah, we're still working on specific plans, but it's going to be way more often than the 3 episodes we did in the entirety of last year.
Yeah.
And no, very, very glad to have that back. And of course, Justin and I and our new co-host at Nihon Tiger on Twitter have relaunched the Support Class podcast for Anxious Gamers. And in February, Dr. Rafael Bocamazzo, who is the clinical director of TakeThis.org, will be on the podcast to talk about coping mechanisms with us.
All right.
So please look forward to that. And well, if nobody has anything else, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we all keep it real. So until next time, everybody, please take care of each other, and thank you for joining us tonight.